your group, and the organizer should report to the chief fire officer. And in case of any emergency illness or accident, please inform the reception, who will ensure that a first aider and help is called. Please report all health and safety incidents to your meeting organizers, which will be in all of your rooms. So, it's my honor to introduce the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland QC. She is the 6th Commonwealth Secretary General and the first woman to assume the role. She was born in Dominica and moved to the UK with her family, growing up in East London. She trained as a lawyer, and not only did she become the first Black woman to be appointed a Queen's Counsel in 1991, at 35, she was also the youngest woman ever to be made Queen's Counsel. She was the first Black woman to be appointed Deputy High Court Judge, Recorder and Master of the Middle Temple. She joined the House of Lords in 1997 as Baroness Scotland of Astle, going on to serve as a minister in the Foreign Office, the Home Office, and the Lord Chancellor's Department. She undertook major reform of the criminal justice system, including the introduction of the Domestic Violence, Crime, and Victims Act. She was appointed Attorney General in 2007, the first woman to hold the post since it was created in 1315. She founded the Eliminate Domestic Violence Global Foundation in 2011. She was appointed the Prime Ministerial Trade Envoy to South Africa in 2012, and she was elected as the Alderman of Bishopsgate in the City of London in 2014. And so with that, I would like to welcome Baroness Scotland.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that extremely embarrassing and tortuous introduction. I think quite often people say, I wish that woman had done less. But I really want to welcome each and every one of you to what I hope to be, for all of you, and indeed for me, a very special day. We come together on a day which is special for a number of reasons, not least the fact that we have, for the second time in British history, a woman taking the helm as Prime Minister. So I just want to reassure all of you that there are 53 countries in the Commonwealth, and you may take your pick. Firstly, I want to particularly welcome you here to Marlborough House. It is our inaugural meeting for women leaders across our Commonwealth. I'd also like to make special mention, if I may, right at the beginning, of our partners in this especially important launch, because we have with us Women of the World, WOW, which I think was very well named, Jude, because it is a WOW organization, the Royal Commonwealth Society, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and the Commonwealth Business Network. I hope you notice that the Commonwealth binds all those organizations, and I'm very, very pleased that we have with us here today the woman who leads the Commonwealth Games Federation too. Did you see her face? She went, oh my God. She's sitting down there and thinking, Louise, thinking, I hope I've got away with it today. This meeting is really the starting gun of the development of an action plan that will drive women's issues during my time as Secretary General. Women as agents of change is absolutely not a new concept. Throughout history, women have led movements for change at every level and been a really integral part of change, which is both political, economic, and social. The story of women as change agents is really a compelling one. And it's about the grit and the tenacity of ordinary women who have transformed themselves, their families, and their communities, while battling against great odds. And often they were not noted and they were not remembered. It's also the story of women who have left their mark on global governance, democracy, development, and peace. Politically, we are living at a time which sees more women than ever before taking up high office. The arrival, as I said earlier, of Theresa May as the new British Prime Minister, Angela Merkel's 11 years and counting as Chancellor of Germany, and perhaps even Hillary Clinton in the White House marks an exciting period in women's history. And we need to note that we have a number of other women in pivotal posts. There's Christine Lagarde at the IMF. There is Michelle Jean, who is Secretary General of the Francophonie. There is Dame Meg Taylor, who is the Secretary General of the Pacific Island Forum. There is Dr. Etienne, who is the head of PAHO. And it goes on, and many of those women, for most of their careers, would have been the one and the only, and many of them the first. But they are all now in pivotal positions, hoping to be in a position to make a difference. And I'm very proud to be the first female Secretary General of the Commonwealth, helping to be the first servant of 53 nations who encompass 2.2 billion people. Nationalist movements for independence, the suffragette movement, women's movement for social justice, the quiet revolution on microcredit, the movement for saving the earth, efforts for forging peace and rebuilding societies after violent conflict, and initiatives against landmines and nuclear arsenals represent a few facets of women's leadership at work. And I want to throw in just two more. Many people forget that it was the women's movement who were pivotal to ending slavery. They did not have the vote themselves, but they fought for the freedom of others. Many people remember Martin Luther King and the change he brought in the southern states of America, but they forget that it was started by a woman who was poor, she was a seamstress, and disregarded, Rosa Parks. It was Martin Luther King who walked with Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks didn't actually walk with Martin Luther King. And I think it's just important for us to remember that quite often when women lead and when women make a contribution, it's not always the woman's contribution which is remembered. And we need parity. We need to remember our magnificent men, but we also need to remember our magnificent women too. So it's, of course, at the everyday level that women grapple with justice and equality. In every rural and urban home, we have women change agents. Mothers and their daughters, women who work for change with their men and communities. And it's these small changes that lead to a groundswell of changing tide as all of us, women and men, girls and boys, build a world without want, an equitable world, an equitable society with a sustainable future. So human rights for all really starts at home. And I would like us all to reflect on Eleanor Roosevelt's words all those years ago as she led the UN and the global community in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She said this: "Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of individual persons, the neighborhood they live in, the school they attend, the factory, farm, or office they work in. Such are the places where every man, woman, or child seeks equal justice, equal opportunities, and equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. So in September of last year, 2015, when we collectively committed ourselves to the Sustainable Development Goals, we did this knowingly that the global landscape should be redefined to be more enabling and inclusive. The landscape should be placing women, men, and children in the action and implementation plans and to be part of the decision-making voices at all levels. And we all know that women, more than anyone else, have borne the brunt of the fallout of development policies and programs. Their rights to dignity have been compromised, along with the rights of their children and also of their men. Our own Commonwealth Charter also places direct emphasis on gender equality, acknowledging as an essential component of human development and basic human rights. As the Charter puts it, the advancement of women's rights and the education of girls are critical preconditions for effective and sustainable development. How do we ensure that human rights do not get eroded in the face of immense challenges? As the Commonwealth, we have aspired to international human rights standards and development commitments. We've got CEDAW, the Beijing Platform for Action, the MDGs, and now the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with the SDGs and COP21. We also have regional treaties, declarations, and plans of action for gender equality. And as we move from aspirations to entitlements, and from plans and intentions to actions, I thought it was necessary that I convene this Women Leaders Summit at an opportune time, a time that recognizes women's capacity and capability to take control of their lives and reshape the lives and the world they live in. And gender equality is one of the fundamental principles of the Commonwealth, and it's central to us achieving the SDGs. And it's a topic that I have been focused on for the last 40 years, although I am in fact 21. Now, readdressing gender inequality and empowering of all women and girls remains challenging almost everywhere, with implications for various sectors and the realization of democratic and developmental goals. And I'm confident that we can work together in the next 4 years towards the SDG targets and build on the gains already made towards women's empowerment, gender equality under the MDGs, and to transform the political and socio-economic landscape better and more equitably for today and for the children of our children. The Commonwealth, with its shared histories, including common values of democracy and development, recognize the importance of advancing women's rights through the Plan of Action for Gender Equality 2005 to 2015. Indeed, I think the Commonwealth needs a roadmap, will be the landmark and an inspiration for the next 4 years, as more than is set out anywhere else in our Commonwealth priorities. It's empowering women and girls across all development and democracy work. And these include gender and equitable trade, gender-responsive investments and enterprise developments, women's rights, upholding the rule of law, and ending violence against women and girls, women in leadership and decision-making at all levels, ending child marriage and security and women's transformative leadership. For the Commonwealth to stay relevant to this day and age, we need to respond not only to the changing global political and socio-economic landscapes, but also take on broad strategic innovations for member countries. And it's in this context that I convene this summit in the hope that we can enrich the gender equality agenda for the Commonwealth in the coming 4 years. And you are an incredibly special grouping, spanning the Commonwealth and bringing a wide range of expertise to this summit. And I believe that this summit has considerable soft power which we can exploit to achieve some strong outcomes for women and girls, but also for our men. Our work to draft the action plan for what the women leaders of the Commonwealth may wish to do starts today, but it's just a start. And the work that we will engage in today will help us to craft the thinking as we go forward. But I want to emphasize it's just a start. I want us to draw on the expertise of absolutely everyone in this room. And it's my ambition to build this group into something preeminent in this space. And I really look forward to taking some of today's work for discussion at the Women Affairs Ministerial meeting in September in Samoa too. But I really want to emphasize that the Sustainable Development Goals, COP21, and our Charter is not something just for governments and member states. It's something for each and every one of us. And so as we sit here today, I hope none of us will be talking about what they will do, because the they is us, every single one of us. And so I hope as we go forward, each of us will be asking a question: what will I do to make a contribution to the 2030 agenda? How will I make a contribution to the SDGs? How will I ensure in the work that I do that COP21 is a reality? So that once we've garnered the wisdom here, we will be able to better inform, better challenge the things that we will all do together. And it won't just be governments who has this responsibility. Each and every one of us has that personal responsibility to do something. So I hope that each of you will say to yourselves, what are the 3 things I am going to do as a result of coming here today that I would not have done if I didn't come? And I can see Melissa Morbeck over there smiling because she knows that you all think I'm joking about that. She also knows that I'm going to write down the 3 things that every single one of you have promised, and then I'll be around to remind you that, that you perhaps should deliver it. And if we can just for a moment think about what would happen to us if every single one of us actually did that which we said we were going to do. Just those of us in this room. What an amazing difference we could together make. And so I want to thank absolutely every one of you for coming. I want to for taking the time to be here today, and I really look forward to your deliberations. But I am going to thank you in advance for all the things you will do as a result of coming here that you would not have done had you not come. And if you've been thanked before, let me tell you, I will thank you every single time, because I know so often people forget to thank you. So on the days when you think, nobody's listening, nobody cares, nobody is noticing what I'm doing, I want you to remember that the Secretary General thanked you in advance for all the miscreants who do not have the grace to say thank you. Now, we have the most wonderful agenda. I hope that you will absolutely love it, and I'm going to be listening keenly to everything that you have to say. Thank you very much. Who's going to be doing this? I thought he was introducing. Now, you see how well organized I am this morning. I've done about 10 other things. I thought that I would not have the privilege of introducing Kiran, but I'm going to. Dr. Kiran Bedi is the first woman to have joined the officer ranks of the Indian Police Service. She is literally an icon for those who have wanted to see difference being made on democracy, justice, and people not getting away with impunity. And she has been an inspiration to women not just in India, but literally all over the world, because she has done that which many people thought was impossible to do. And she's done it with grace, with dignity, but with huge courage. She's a woman who's never turned away from a challenge, and she has been an inspiration to a generation, and I am extremely proud and pleased that she has graced us with her presence today, and that she is going to be our keynote speaker. And I'm so delighted that I get to say that, because I thought that someone else might. Thank you very much. So can I now introduce you, and I hope you will warmly welcome her, Kiran Bedi.
You might have to sit ahead if you're going to see those slides. You get all the ideas you're looking for, or a few of them. Few of them. Good morning, all of you, and what an honor and a personal privilege to be picked up out of all the legendaries here. Did you do a raffle? I bet you did a raffle. I never win a lottery, but I won this raffle today to be the keynote speaker. Friends, let me begin with a little personal note. I want to dedicate this presentation to my sister, whom we lost 3 years ago. She was a world-known autistic expert, and she was a Britisher. And whenever I visited London, for me, London was her home. I never stayed in a hotel. Therefore, I want to dedicate this to my younger sister, who was like a twin sister, who the world lost 3 years ago. She fought dying cancer most bravely. That's my personal tribute. And I bet she's listening to me. She's always around me, inspiring me to go on. I'm going to give you the answers to which Patricia has raised. I'm going to make your life easier. All of you will have a lot of ideas, and she can then say thank you in advance. I have a slideshow for you on the how. We all know the problem, my friends. I believe we know the problems. I'm the how person. This presentation is like the used wisdom before you. A used wisdom I have used for the last 45 years. You did it 40? I did it 45 years. I joined the Indian Police Service officer ranks in 1972 when I was just about 21 and a half. And even prior to that, as a student, I'd started to volunteer for community service. I had so much of people at heart that before joining the policing, I already was working with people who I thought had less than me, and it was my duty to share. So I put together a presentation for you of the how. Let's look at this. So we are looking as Patricia wanted, 2020 and beyond. I've written and beyond, because there's certain things which have happened, I think are perennial, and therefore they cannot but go beyond 2020. Currently, friends, this experience is coming out of 3 sources. My law enforcement experience for all these years. Then my experience as a social activist worker, which I did about more than 35 years, running 2 foundations for rural and urban poor. And the third one is my political career, though short, ran an election and lost. And then now placed as in a constitutional position, running a union territory which was once French occupied and was one of the most beautiful part of India called Puducherry. That's where I hold a position as Lieutenant Governor. So it's something like a mixture of political and constitutional, and I enjoy both. These are our focus areas as Patricia wanted. Violence against women and girls, we know it exists. And it exists in a very big way, differently, proportionally in different countries. Women's economic empowerment, the need of the hour, and forever, because till half the population is empowered, I cannot see a prosperous world. And third, women in leadership. This was your paper, which Emma suggested that I focus on these areas, and I have some presentations, some slides for you to see. My first slide, and I'm here to offer the how. The how which has worked for me, how which brought me a Nobel Peace Prize of Asia, which is called the Raman Magsaysay Award, without knowing that these were something very unique. So violence against women is based on my learnings from law enforcement. Check crimes against women by collaborating. My first how, my friends, is collaboration, called the C, not competition, collaboration. What's been missing in our lives is, here is a model. It's called the 6P model. When I say 6P, the first P stands for people, which is principles, which is people, which is NGOs, which we the people, where we are so grassrooted that we really know what the problem is. And it varies from place to place. You don't have one solution for all. But you know the problem because you're close to the people. People know the problems. Parents, teachers, associations know the crimes against women, which children, girls are suffering. Principals know what's happening. Parents know, principals know, NGOs know, the people know. The first P. So I'm looking at the how. They know the problem. The question is, how do we get to the solutions? If we ignore them, and in policy making, we're losing out a very important segment of the how. Second is the police. Police works as a silo. We were working as silos. And when the police works as silo, it is only a reactionary force. It's not prevention. And even in community policing, that's prevention. It needs the first P, people. So wherever policing is silo, it's only reactionary. It's where it's working together, collaborating with people in the first P, it delivers better. But let's see how can it deliver even better, because that's the last resort of crime prevention legally. That's where Patricia's strong background comes from. Legally, punishing, enforcing, and then prevention when it does a good job. The third, friends, is prosecution, which is the courts. They also work in silos. They bail out people unconditionally. Sometimes a man is just bailed out and then sent to the prison, and the first thing he does is rape another child. So the point is, where is the conditional bail? Where is all the conditions which the courts ought to place that this man needs following restrictions? So it's also not just violation, it's respecting others' rights while restricting his rights because he had taken away others' rights. So prosecution, which is the courts, the third P. Fourth is a politician. How does a politician know where is the urgency of changing rules and regulations, bringing in updated laws? Many of our countries are still with outdated laws, even concerning. My country has been driven by very numerous incidents to update the law and come up with a very tough law. But it was driven by something very extreme which happened. But the good news is that because of the large people's movement, we came up to date and up to speed. So politician must be. The seventh is prisons. I run the world's largest prison in India, where I had 10,000 prisoners working. So law enforcement experience is also coming out of prison management, which is prisons. We just leave it alone and say, let you do what you want. No, we can't. They've got to be accountable for what are they sending out. They've got to be held for accountability of dry cleaning people, because we're sending them polluted people, contaminated people. They're supposed to be dry cleaning for us. Do they do that? That's the fifth P. And then, how can you forget the last P, which is the media, which is the press? Can they get away with all kinds of movies which do instant gratifications? Should they not be also looked at? What are the kinds of messages through media is coming in? Something. So I'm looking at a 6P. These 6P will have to be brought together in collaboration. That's the model called the 6P. Now, who brings these 6P together? That's the question. These exist. But how? The how is you've got to have a hub. The hub could be the mayor. The hub could be the home secretary. The hub could be the lieutenant governor, which is me in Puducherry, because I've already implemented the 6P formula in Puducherry, and I'm the hub. And I bring these 6P together once in 3 months. And in this first 6P, by the way, is also principals and university vice chancellors for research. So they get the data, and we get to know the why of the crime. We need to know the why. Police must share with the why. The research must be known, the why is a child being exploited recently, or how are the crimes happening. What is the why? We don't know the why. How will you have a solution if you don't know the why? So my first model, my first suggestion is, how do we bring the 6P together? You can add another P in your groups, but without these 6P, you will not be able to collectively, holistically, comprehensively, effectively deal with crimes against women. I was in a conference here in London about 3 months ago, and I was in a police conference, and I asked one of the police chiefs, saying, do you have something like 6P where you bring people together? They said, we're getting at it. We're getting at it. Every day you delay getting at it, you're delaying the solutions. So we need a 6P formula. We can fine-tune it, we can customize it, and then, but without coming together. So therefore, my first C to this keynote address is C, is collaboration. Let me move on to the next. My second, friends, is women's economic empowerment, and this is my learnings from civil society. Sometimes we look beyond ourselves, and as very rightly said, Patricia said, human rights begin in a small way, probably anywhere where you are. Anywhere where you are. That's what I did. In my policing times, to prevent crime, friends, I looked within my own areas, what was causing crime. And I found what was causing crime was drugs, poverty, unemployment, a bad company. There are many other reasons. So we started to open schools and develop leadership amongst women to take charge. And that started to prevent crime. That means I didn't look beyond where I was. I started to look right there. Why is what is happening? And what is it that I need to correct? And what is it that I want? And how can I do it? And I had no money. I had my position. My position was everything. So I used the power of influence to set up these civil society organizations to create women's leadership and start to educate, make literate, and connecting NGOs with NGOs, connecting people with people. That was the second C, which I like to share as long-term. As women in leadership, I was a woman in leadership who had no money but had the power of influence, had the power of opposition. And converting that power into position for people's good, what did I do? I connected the haves with the have-nots. I never spent a penny, but I found the solutions. So friends, it's back to collaboration, but it's collaboration for care. Unless we as women leaders don't have that care and that extra care, how do I use my power for care? I'm caring it. I'm not exercising power. I'm converting that power into care. That's the second. I think this is what every woman, any man of worth his while as a leader has to be caring. And caring to the extent which is needed, and not in a miserly way, but in a generous way. And see, where can I combine with what so that I provide that answer? It's creating women's leadership. These are my self-help groups in the rural areas. Creating women's leadership. Literacy program, vocational skills. Each one getting empowered. So a caring leader empowers community. That's what the second thing is. Caring to empower, to become not to teach them to fish, not eat a fish, not to get a fish, but to learn to fish for themselves. My third. So these are guardians, as groomers of humanity. Giving you some more pictures. Here's the latest woman with information technology. This has also been donated. The woman has also come. All I've done is network them together. And it's created a whole revolution in the villages. So friends, it's all about collaborative care. Giving you my third model, which was the third pillar of this conference, which is women in leadership and my learnings from public service. My public service is this. Friends, it's all about empowering others again, giving them space, giving them a voice, and recognizing what they stand for, and not usurping all which actually credit should go. If you notice, it's all about sharing again. So the more you share, the more you give others a voice, you are establishing, you are translating leadership up to the grassroots level. And as you turn back and go home, you've left leaders behind who will continue to transform because they were inspired. And then you became a mentor, you became a role model, and that was your duty to do. You have not done anybody a favor. So friends, this is me latest. This is one of the latest pictures where it says, when the governor came calling. I reach out to children in my own spare time. To one of my very beautiful Government of India's policy is, go and read, all public servants, go and read a good story in schools. So I went to tell a story, and after the story, the child came and asked, and where did you read this story? And I said, this is the book where I read the story. So it was so beautiful. This is what, from my times in the prisons, where prisoners were addressed on a regular basis. So what was I doing? Leadership is constant communication. It enables building trust, empowering people, making them aligned and accountable. This is what I'm picking up, 3 only instances for you as examples. So what is it? This is the time, about a month and a half, when I took oath as the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. I gave a mantra to my own state, my union territory. The mantra was T. This is not mine. This is Stephen Covey's. He's the one who gave a concept called T, and I'm using it optimally. He better give me something extra for royalties, and I could then spread it on to my NGOs. But I'm promoting him all the time because this is his thinking, and it's called the T concept. It's trust, it's empowerment, and accountability. When you have this T concept, you are all the time, by communicating, creating trust as a woman leadership or as a male leadership. Political, public servant, academic, I don't know. But when you communicate like this, you are creating trust where people believe you. Second, by words and deeds. What you do by your actions, you empower people. And accountability, because you're transparent. You're putting yourself right on the block to say, you can assess me, you can audit me the way I'm doing. I gave this for the first time as a governor of the state, said the state would be run by a concept called T. All politicians were listening. And when they heard that, they understood the message that every penny will be accounted for. And you know how certain limitations are. But the best part is that my politicians in my states are following the T. They're so far remaining trust. I know I'm being recorded. So, so they're being trustworthy. They don't have a choice. But I think they've come with the willingness to be trusted. Secondly, they're empowering people. I'll tell you how further. One of the first things which a leader must do is to walk the talk. One of the first things I did was Bedi imposes curbs on sirens. We officers could drive through a city saying, and all it meant you had a right passage. The first day I sat in a car of a governor, my pilot started to blow the siren, and I suddenly saw people getting back on the side, greeting me, but I said, oh my God, while they're greeting me, they should be hating me because I'm pushing them away. I can't be sitting in this car with blowing that siren of a pilot and then also getting a greeting. I told my pilot, please stop it. I can't hurt people here. So one of the first orders I issued was, Bedi imposes sirens. My car has no siren. It just goes by the normal way as the developed world is, I believe. But that's first thing I sent. The first message is, I'm one of the equals. I'm not the one. I'm one of all of you. And whatever I am one of you, don't stand me apart. And if you're greeting me, then I accept your greeting because I deserve it, not that I pushed you aside. Second thing is, meet the Lieutenant Governor between 5, 6 without appointment. First thing is the governor's house, which is a beautiful palace, was thrown open to no appointment, called the open house. Why I'm giving you these two is a woman leader of the future has to be equal, but stand out by her own position. She has to be equal. She has to deserve what she does and not push her way, as has been in the man's world so far. Men have used the muscle power to push everybody aside. I don't think we have that muscle power. We have the mind power. I think we will move from muscle power to mind power and the heart power to say we are one of you and we are all equal in it together. We are sensitive. Second thing is, we must, each one of us, in our areas of influence, have open hours where anybody can walk up to you and say, you're no good, ma'am. You're no good. You're just saying it. I must have the capacity to hear that person and say, explain to me why I'm no good. Give me a better reason where I can be good. I think that open house has changed the way we are working in Puducherry, friends. The commonest person, the poorest person, is coming up to a mansion. The Lieutenant Governor, I had a picture of that. I didn't want to show you. It's a huge palace built by the French. And believe me, if I wouldn't have an open house, I would feel imprisoned in that place. I had to open up this house to become normal, remain normal in that big mansion. So this was a very important message for political, social leadership, man or a woman, to open up the system and have it available 1 hour, no appointments, come first come, first serve basis. What my staff does is, we got lots of people every day, they give a token on first come, first serve, and the first 1 hour, about 40 people are attended every day. But 40 people come to me, the rest of the public servants too have been directed to have 5 to 6 open hour, men or a woman, politician or not. So everybody is an open hour in my union territory today. And do you know what? It's stabilized. Because people are going back to their own public servants. And the public servants know that if we do not attend, she will attend. So they are getting attended. So I think this is two good practices. If you can adopt during your presentations, I think would be worth it, and then fine-tune and add more. Some of these other 1 or 2 pictures I have, how I've gone to the dump yards. These are tremendous garbage. And for last 5 years, this garbage dump had smelled in the whole city. Had smelled. It's only in the last 1 week they've stopped smelling. We found some solutions. And that's because I went to smell it. So second thing is not just open up your office hours, go to the spot. The secret to change is go where you're needed. Rather than asking for paper reports, go where the crisis is. Go where the actually problem is. Go where the solution is needed. This ground situation from the report is vastly different. I've noticed it. So I don't trust the paper report. I ask for a report, but I go and test it at the ground, and I suddenly realize what a hopeless report it was if I'd believed it, and I would have been made a fool of. So friends, therefore, no hopeless reports come to you if they know that the leader will go back to the spot and check things for herself. So friends, this is what I did. See, these are my sanitary workers. And how they were all recognized, because this is called dignity of labor. And I think it needed a woman's heart to do it. It needed a woman's heart. I think that's specially gifted by nature to us, that we are more EQ-driven, along with the IQ, EQ-driven. And EQ is most vital for success in life. These are other pictures. And the good news is, these are ministers with me. They too joined in, and it's a team approach. Political and constitutional, and the people and the public officials getting the solutions. This is another collaborative approach. This is another approach which we have to handle. And here is a key where I'm handing the key of a toilet to this lady who volunteered to run a community toilet when the men decided to lock it up. We took the key away and gave it to the woman. She came in and said, I'm willing to take charge. So friends, these are some of the stories I thought for you, is constant reinforcements. Remember, everything needs a reinforcement. You got to continue to reinforcement till the last day of your life. There is no resting on your laurels. If you want to be a leader, it is till the last day of your life. As long as God has given you health, it is for a purpose. So friends, these are some of the other images I wanted to share with you. It's town halls, it's principals, it's school children, it's police cops. It's every day a reinforcement of the messages I gave you. And that is what is driving the change, creating a new leadership, empowering people. So finally, we have, I fear, confused power with greatness, haven't we? Haven't we? We think, oh, power, great. No, 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 no. Greatness is something called collaboration, something called care, and something called conscientiousness. Friends, what I noticed, and when I thought for myself, what is it that I am doing differently? And I realized for myself, when your papers came, and I reflected on myself, what is it that I'm doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I opening up the house? Why am I, as a woman leader, going to the garbage dumps? Why am I handing over the keys? Why am I doing all this? And I realized it's just one thing. I think it's conscientiousness. And can consciousness, my friends, be taught? It cannot be taught. It has to be learned every day. And it is that conscientiousness as a woman leader, and the world is needing these 3 C's. Collaboration, care, and conscientiousness. That's the woman of tomorrow. That's the leader of tomorrow. That's the organization of tomorrow. That, I think, is a message for tomorrow. Let the new leader, man or a woman, be collaborative, have the skills to collaborate, have the heart to care, and the third is remain conscientious. And once you're remaining conscientious, my friends, you will never ever be unproductive. You will never be told to do what you need to do. You will be self-driven. And I realized, when did my conscientiousness begin? And I thought through, and I remembered the times when I was still in school, when my mother never told me to do my homework myself, when my father never told me, go exercise to win your tennis match. I did it by myself. On the contrary, my mother said, enough, Kiran, I think you need some rest. So friends, I think going back to our base, going back to our foundations, we the women, we the leaders who are aspiring to be leaders, have to build fresh foundations. Go up as parents, as guardians. As guardians, we may be a parent or we may not be, but we must be guardians. So as guardians, as teachers, as parenters, as leaders, we are guardians of that situation to remain conscientious or awaken a conscientiousness. I think what this world is today needing is, most of all, conscientiousness. Not to be told what to do, not go by a written appraisal, but self-appraisal. I want to thank you very much, Patricia, for what you did.
So much, Kiran, for that inspirational talk. And from one inspirational woman, we're going to go to another, because many of you all know that Jude Kelly was the inspiration behind WOW, and without her and her great work at South Bank, WOW would never have come to fruition. And I'm now going to ask Jude to do what she does in an exemplary way. I'm going to ask her to have a conversation with Kiran.
So, Kiran, you and I met...
That's all over. Let me get back.
We met in 2012. Kiran came to the second Women of the World Festival. For those of you who were with me last night, sorry to repeat this, but I started Women of the World in 2010, and it's now in 17 countries around the world. We hope to be in another